Hello from the Henry Carter Hall Library in Clinton, Connecticut. It's October 7th, 2021. This is the Stories That Veterans Tell project, and today we welcome Lance Hedge from Clinton, who is here to share his story. And I think you chose your branch of the military, didn't you, Lance?
I certainly did, Lynn, yes. Yep. At an early age, I worked with a man that was probably 10 years older than me that was a Vietnam veteran from the Marine Corps. And watching his actions and the things that he did, not necessarily all for the good, but it truly made my decision very simple early on in life as as a late teen, that the Marine Corps is the destination there I wanted to go.
And what did you ascribe to when you thought about being a Marine? What was it?
I think the dress blues are what locked me in, essentially, and just the respect and the honor and everything that goes along with it, with the military history.
Yes.
Which I wasn't really fully aware of at the time, but there is a lot of history there. And the old saying of once a Marine, always a Marine, so on and so forth.
That's impacted your life. So how old were you when you left home, and where did they send you?
So I signed up my junior year in high school as an early enlistment for about a year. And then in June, I graduated June 4th, and I left for boot camp June 22nd of 1982.
Wow, okay. And where did they send you?
Went to the lovely Paris Island, South Carolina.
Okay, how big is Paris? I mean, that's the major training camp for the whole East Coast?
For the whole East Coast it is, yeah. And the West Coast, Hollywood Marines go to San Diego, California.
Hollywood
They issue them sunglasses when they get there. So the story goes, obviously they don't. I really couldn't tell you how big it is because you're only subjected to a very small portion of it. So it's big enough, but yet small enough too. And you're not going to escape because of the alligators that are out in the swamps and so on and so forth. So.
Well positioned.
Exactly,
okay.
Exactly.
All right, so, here you are, 18 or so. Did you go with anyone else? Anybody else did you enlist with?
So I did not personally, but I was the first of my group of a group of maybe 8 to 10 people that all enlisted, and I ran into some of them as they progressed through boot camp, as I progressed through boot camp in the Chow Hall and so on and so forth, that it came in after me. All in all, there was, I think there was 8 individuals from my group that ended up joining the Marine Corps, and everyone was successful. And
wow.
made it through it,
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yep.
All right, so how intimidating are what was your day like?
Started early in the morning. It was very, very much intimidating. The very first thing that you really remember is you kind of get hoarded in as a group of people when you arrive and then they kind of process you through, give you your haircut, issue your uniforms, and then you get assigned to a platoon. My platoon was 1048 1st Battalion. And when you arrive there, you meet
200 or so people in the platoon?
No, maybe probably 60 to 70,
okay.
somewhere thereabouts, maybe 50 to 70. And you meet your junior drill instructors and you meet your senior drill instructor, and that is when all hell breaks loose. That day when they originally introduced you to those folks. And your senior drill instructor basically wants to be your father, your peer, somebody for you to look up to, and the rest of them just torment the hell out of you throughout the process.
Okay.
But you learn how to play the process and what you can do and what you can't do, and some people learn quicker than others. So.
Yeah, I mean, and the goal is to form a unit.
Correct. So the ultimate goal is to make it so you're not thinking about the what ifs. You're just thinking about each other and accomplishing the mission is what they're trying to get you to do, and whip you into shape at the same time.
Yeah. How how fit were you for PT?
I was pretty fit because I had played sports my whole life, and I played football for years and years, and the physical aspect of it wasn't so much. It was more the mental with the physical aspect of it.
Yeah.
But the daily activity was, it started at, I think it was 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. You would do a run, and then you'd go do your calisthenics and your exercises, and your day would go and go and go, and you'd finally, lights out would be at, God, I don't even know what time it was. It was probably 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and you didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
You slept.
Yeah. All right, after basic, did you get time home?
Yes. So I graduated went in June 22nd, graduated from boot camp at Parris Island. September 16th, my mom and dad and my future wife, my girlfriend at the time, came down for the graduation ceremony. They drove down and then we drove back. I had maybe a week's time, and then from that point I was getting assigned to Fort Bliss, Texas, to an Army base for Hawk Missile Systems Fire Control Crewman training for a period of September through December.
Okay. Now, is that something you chose? Is that something you assigned?
Well, I was supposed to be a helicopter mechanic, but for some reason or another, they figured you shoot down helicopters. It's the same as being a helicopter mechanic, so I guess you kind of are.
in a spattery kind of way.
Exactly,
Okay.
right.
All right, so then I know what happened when you came back in December.
So yeah, during that time that I was away, I really missed my fiancée, Deneen, and I had wrote a letter to her mom and dad asking what they thought about us getting married, and so on and so forth, and comes to find out I was supposed to get back in late in the evening on December 17th. Our wedding was scheduled for the coldest day that I think I've ever experienced, December 18th, 1982, and I wasn't able to be there for the walkthrough the night before, so my brother-in-law stepped in for me at 17 years old, or 16 years old, and everything went on without a hitch after that. We got married and spent maybe 3 days at for a honeymoon, and then I had to go back and was assigned to Cherry Point, North Carolina.
Okay.
So I had left and with a U-Haul, 10-foot U-Haul with all of our worldly possessions were contained within that U-Haul.
Within that U-Haul, yeah.
And got down to North Carolina and met up with some folks that I had been in Texas with that, they had a little more time in the Marine Corps, a little more experience on life and so on and so forth. I had never left home prior to going to boot camp. Good experiences with those folks. They helped me out a lot. A lot of them were married. Quite a few of them were married with children and such. So they were good role models. And so I found an apartment, a mobile home, if you will, off base, quite a bit off base, and sent for Deneen to come down, and she came down and we settled in.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, in this period, is this additional training? What are they?
This was my duty station.
Okay.
So after my training had transpired at Fort Bliss, Texas, from there my duty station was now, there was one of two choices for a duty station. It was either the Yuma, Arizona area or Cherry Point, North Carolina, which was Hawk Missile Systems was part of that group. And that's where I would stay essentially. I wouldn't never leave there for the 4-year duration that I was in. I left on a very regular basis, probably 6 months out of the year. I was assigned to go out in the field for short stints, whether it be 2 weeks to 3 months at a time. And ironically, one of those happened probably a week after Deneen came down. I was gone for 3 months.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it was initiation by fire for her as a young
Military
girl,
life,
away
right?
from home
Yeah.
at 18 years
Yeah.
old, and a lot going on. Luckily, she was able to get together with some of the other guys' wives.
Yes.
Made it a lot easier for her, as easy as it could be for her. It was still very difficult.
Now, when you went out in the field, how far away?
The first place that we went to was, oh gosh, I don't really remember where it was. The first, I think it might have been in Atlanta, Georgia, to Fort Hood, possibly, in Atlanta, Georgia. But then, it was all the way as far as Las Vegas area, out into Area 51 and so on and so forth. So lots of places. And there were some that were as close as a 20-minute drive away onto Onslow Beach and a part of Camp Lejeune.
What was the technology like and the weaponry and so on? How, there must have been just so much to learn it was.
So yes, there was, absolutely. And I was not a techie person at all at any point in my life prior to that. And you had the technicians that did the repairs on the equipment. It was all a guided missile system, essentially for medium to low altitude targets. So you were tracking through radar systems with these huge radars that would send a beam out, reflect off the aircraft and come back to you, and it would identify what the aircraft was, and you could track it, and therefore as long as you maintained the track, you could shoot a guided missile. That this whole system was made by Raytheon in Massachusetts-based company. But the technology for the time, I guess, from my understanding, was pretty good. But today, for what we pulled around in a trailer, probably half the size of this room, that was just full of circuit boards and what we knew to be computer systems, you know, it probably has the technology of what the cell phone has at this
Wow.
point
Yeah,
in the world,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. And, you know, when you think of drones and that sort of thing now,
Right.
it's different.
And we actually did shoot down live drones, and we get to do that once a year. We had live fires in Onslow Beach at Camp Lejeune, Cherry Point, or
All right, now I'm thinking of that time in the world, and I'm thinking of like the Falkland Islands, maybe in Bosnia. I mean, what was happening worldwide, and was there any? Did you face the idea of possible foreign deployment, or?
So what had transpired is President Reagan had just come into office, and being a strong military backer, President Reagan, it was right during the Iranian hostage crisis in the embassy in Iran, and there was a strong opportunity that we could possibly have been deployed, unknowing where it was going
Yeah.
at that point, but President Reagan called their bluff, and they released the hostages pretty quickly after he was put into office.
Right.
So, no, really, during that time, there really was nothing that we, it was just daily training and exercises and so on and so forth out in the field, but no, there was no conflicts per se during my time.
So after 4 years, you went out and saw. How did being a Marine be the foundation of what happened next?
So ironically, I had a little bit of a connection to get me into a public utility company back in the home area, in the Springfield area, where I came from Westfield in Massachusetts, probably a 20-minute ride. My aunt had a pretty good job in a production facility, and one of the girls that worked with her went on to become the HR manager at this facility. So she said to my dad had been in contact with her as I was away, and you know, just requested that she give me an interview.
Yeah.
That's all he had requested. So ironically, my dad had to chase me down. I went to work when I got home in June. I actually got an early discharge. I got out in May. I got out a month early, and I went to work for a local contractor that was doing telephone installations. So we were all over the place on a daily basis, and it was before cell phones.
Right, yeah.
So my dad was working nights at the time, and he got a phone call from this lady saying that they wanted to interview me, but they wanted to do it in the afternoon, that afternoon. So my dad went out and chased me around and tried to find me on a job site. He finally did end up hooking up with me, and I was able to get out of there. So ironically, I went in and interviewed for the position. Well, the position that I interviewed for, the interviewee was a retired master sergeant from the Marine Corps.
Oh, well, so that was.
So as being discharged after a 4-year duration as an E5 sergeant, with a lot of meritorious promotions and so on throughout the process, the interview went very well. And I was called and offered the job the next day. And 34 years later, I ended up retiring from the utility company. And it was all based on that. I really do believe that made a big difference in my life and set the cores and values of who I am as a person.
All right, I have a question for you. You start out a military career, and you start out in the military, and you are one of the team. You are just, you know, this team is going to function as a unit to do the mission. Mm-hmm. And then, how do you stand out? Now, you talked about the promotions that happened up to sergeant in the 4 years you were there. What is it like to be a member of a team and then to show your stuff? What's that process?
So I guess it's just, it's really as simple as just doing things the way that you're taught to do them. I mean, and being on top of it and be conscientious of it, as far as down to the way you present yourself, your uniform, your personal hygiene, following orders to the best of your ability, and being a leader and being something that's looked up to from other people, and they follow your lead. And I was very fortunate that that all worked out really, really well for me.
I mean, it's remarkable, and because you were young when you went in, but you, in that time period, it sounds like you were one of the more mature and, you know, people in the unit.
Yeah, I think the discipline that I had from playing sports and the mentality of a team mentality, I think that helped me tremendously, where a lot of folks didn't have that in their background. I think that was a big part of why I was so successful, I think, yes. service.
When you have to think about the people you served with, is there anyone that stands out in your memory that you'll just always, for good reasons or not so good reasons?
Yeah, there's many, actually. As I spoke earlier, your senior drill instructor, Staff Sergeant Nothan,
Yeah.
a man that'll always, every time I close my eyes, I can see him in the back of my head, and not for bad reason, for good reason too. And then as I went on in my unit, there was another individual, Gunny Whitaker. We call him the one-man gang because he was a big burly guy I think he was from Texas, and he just demanded respect, and that's just who he was as a person, and he was a good guy all around, but at the same time, he was the guy you never wanted to cross.
Yeah. And so this is good. All right, so here you are now, you're a civilian and so on. What underlying things about being a Marine to this day are part of your civilian life?
So I think the biggest part of it is your self-respect and your integrity. Integrity is huge in my mind, and I think that plays a big part of what the military does for you if you allow it to, if you want it to. And I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Is that what you would say to people who haven't served? Is that what you would want them to know?
I would want them to know. I truly believe that every young man should serve at least 2 years in the military. I think it's a good growing experience, a good learning experience, and I think there's a lot of examples. You learn how to deal with people from all walks of life and all over the country that you typically wouldn't get the opportunity to deal with.
When people say thank you for your service, Lance, how do you respond?
I feel very proud that people say that, and I'm very proud of the service that I served.
Anything else you'd want people to know?
No, just respect your country. God bless America.
Thank you. Thank you, Sergeant.